Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast, Power, as we review Power episode 13, 613, season 6, episode 13. It's all your fault. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald-Quinn, discussing again this latest episode of Power. We'll go through all the key scenes, the majority of them, with the majority of them being, of course, featuring Tommy, as this episode came from his perspective. As always, we are streaming live on my YouTube channel. Check it out anytime. Real Deal Podcast. Also, this episode will drop on Blog Talk Radio in a couple of hours, maybe by late tonight, early tomorrow. So you can find us on Stitcher at Apple, find also on iTunes, apple.itunes.com, as well as other streaming platforms. We're all over the place, so check us out. So This episode began with Tommy getting rid of the body of Benny. Of course, Benny was Proctor's cousin, who was a part of the Servilio Mafia. He was getting rid of. He gets rid of the body. Tommy, during this particular scene, has yet to track down BG. At this point, he doesn't know if BG is dead. He gets rid of the body basically all by himself. It ends up in a garbage, one of those garbage, not disposals, but one of those places where you destroy cars. Um, so he gets rid of the body, and then we fast forward. We go to Aunt Dolores, Lisa Marie, and Vincent. So we go to where Lisa Marie is staying with her Uncle Benny. Vincent brings over some of his bodyguards, and Aunt Dolores, who I want to assume was part of that it wasn't clear about her standing as far as the family, as far as the her role. But all we know is that she is, I would say, Benny's girlfriend. I ain't gonna say it's Benny's girlfriend. It could probably it's Benny's sister, and she's part of that. She's a part. She's connected to the mafia. She seemingly has a lot of power. You could tell Vincent has some fear of her. So Vincent basically brings some people over to the house to kind of reassure Dolores that they had nothing to do with Benny being missing. Of course, earlier in the season, they had a little mini standoff between Vincent and Benny, where Benny kept Vincent from killing Tommy, Ghost, and Tyreke. When of course that episode was inside man. So Dolores reminds Vinny of this. She doesn't believe Vinny, but accepts his protection as he drops off two of his bodyguards to protect Elisa Marie, just in case Tommy or somebody else comes around, or as an act of good faith. Of course, Vincent, we know that Vinny's family is the bigger of the two families based on the fact that Vincent backed down in that particular episode, going to episode 606 Inside Man. So we go to Tommy and Kate Egan. Now, Tommy, at this point, he's at his mom's house. He is convinced, as he's trying to find out who killed Lakeisha, he's convinced that Ghost had Lakeisha killed. Kate doesn't believe it. Um, Kate doesn't believe it whatsoever. But Tommy's basically like, you don't know this version of Ghost. Tommy, of course, sees Ghost and this has been a recurring theme throughout the whole season in terms of the characters' perspective. They have all their perspective all starts out in the same day that Ghost was shot and killed, and they all see the same video of Ghost being basically picked up by Loretta Walsh to be lieutenant governor. So in this, whether it was Dre, whether it was Paz, and now it's Tommy in this episode, they all see this. They all see Ghost on television, and it sets all of them off, including Tommy. So Tommy now is out to kill Ghost. He has that in his mindset. There's no question in his mind that Ghost had Lakeisha killed. And again, this was before he found out. Of course, he found out the truth, which we will later get to. We fast forward to Tyreke, Dolores, and Elisa Marie. This was one of the key scenes, very few key scenes that did not involve Tommy. They are meeting up at a diner. During this meeting, Dolores lets Tyreke listen to the recording of the killings. Now, during that meeting, during the beginning scene in the episode, or during the scene where Vinny brings his men over to Dolores to Benny's house. Dolores catches Elisa Marie listening to the recording, so she knows that he has a recording of Tommy killing of Tommy with Tommy, and that will implicate Tommy as well as Ghost. And they bring the recording, and they end up making a copy of the recording. They bring the recording to the restaurant. They let Tyreke listen to it. Tyreke, of course, classic Tyreke. Tyreke St. Patrick denies everything. He doesn't know who Tommy was. He offers to try to take the recording, have his mom listens to it, listen to it. But Dolores is smart. Dolores knows what time it is. She believes that Tyreke had Tommy kill Joe Proctor, which she is absolutely right. She puts everything. She puts everything together. Uh, Lisa Marie tries to defend Tariq because again she's a kid. She doesn't know any better. But Dolores isn't having it. Dolores keeps the recordings, and Tyreke is there and tells Tyreke basically to get lost. So now Tyreke in one of two meetings that he would end up having with Tommy is scrambling to now Tyreke goes to Tommy. He tells Tommy that look, they out here looking for you. They know about that the recording is still out there. Before this meeting with Tariq, Tommy didn't know that the recording still existed. So at this point, Tommy takes that information from Tyreke and then goes to Truth, where you see the scene where it was announced where it was announced that Ghost would indeed be the next lieutenant governor, along with Lara Ross. During that press conference, Tommy is there. Now they don't show him clapping, but they show him looking at trying to basically checking the scene at Truth. He spots a couple of bodyguards that are watching Ghost, and he as soon as he sees the two bodyguards watching Ghost, he leaves Truth and runs into Blanca Rodriguez. Blanca, of course, gives Tommy Lakeisha's things, and this is where the revelation of Tommy finding out that it was indeed Tasha that killed Lakeisha, because one of the earrings that was left by Tasha was in the evidence bag. Amongst was in the evidence bag. Tommy, of course, recognizes this earring going all the way back to season one. You remember, this was the earring that Tommy, excuse me, this was the earring that Holly stole from Tasha when they first met. When Tommy brought Holly over to Tasha and Ghost's the penthouse, and of course she stole this earring from Tasha, and of course and stole this earring from Tasha. This is Tasha's earring. Tommy ended up buying Tasha a new pair of the same exact ones later on in that season, if you remember. So Tommy, at this point, Tommy knows that Tasha killed Lakeisha. He goes and he confronts Lakeisha, not Lakeisha. He goes and he confronts Tasha. During this scene, not one time in this scene, the Tommy. Now, as we head to Tommy and Tasha, not one time in this scene did I think that Tommy is going to kill Tasha. Tasha basically is begging for her life in this scene. Tasha gives Tommy the papers that Lakeisha signed that basically dimed Tommy out. Despite this, Tommy basically says, "Hey, you pulled the trigger." And at this point, Tasha turns around. Tommy points the gun, but Tommy doesn't pull the trigger. I'm assuming that Tommy thought that, hey, I understand what she did. First of all, Tommy loves Tasha. That's number one. Number two, Tommy recognizes Tommy, the worst, one of the things Tommy hates, and we find out, we know this from watching all these seasons of Power. Tommy hates snitches. Tommy, he despises snitching, completely despises snitching. So, in his heart of hearts, he knows that Tasha was right in saying that, hey, she was going to dime you out, number one. Number two, she was not built for this life, was not built for the game. And she basically says, "Hey, you're lying to yourself if you believe, you lied to yourself, believing that Lakeisha was cut out to deal with this drug life, which we know, which we all knew from season one, that Lakeisha wasn't built for this life." So he lets Tasha go. We see Ghost and Tommy meet up. See Ghost and Tommy meet up. Of course, this is after Ghost, of course, has dimed out Dre and all those sequence of events when Ghost had that meeting with Dre. So they meet up again. This conversation was a lot different, was similar but different from Tommy's perspective, if you compare it to what Ghost's perspective was back in 610. As Tommy pulls the gun on Ghost, and Ghost basically says, "You have to let me go." Shots are fired. Now we see them both running, and we see Tommy running into the warehouse to chase the shooters and find out who's shooting at him. It was now in Tommy's perspective. Now, if you remember, Ghost's perspective, he said how many to Tom, and Tommy was the one that said it's two of them. In Tommy's perspective, he has it's Ghost who identifies the number of shooters. So different perspectives from those two characters on the same scene, different perspectives. So we see Tommy get in the warehouse. We hear Ghost yelling Tommy's name. We see Tommy shoot Cedric the Entertainer. Earlier in that scene, of course, Tommy thought that it was the Italians that were chasing him. He says jokingly, he says, "Hey, you're not Italian." As Cedric the Entertainer is bleeding from the mouth, after he's been shot. Tommy gets away as the other shooter, who had a Uzi, attempted to shoot at him. He gets away. Next thing you know, Tommy goes and kidnaps Lisa Marie, easily taking out Vincent's men, who he easily took them out, took two of them out. He kidnaps Lisa Marie, takes her back to his place, and then calls his mom, as a babysitter, basically, until he can find out what's going to be the next move. Now, he leaves Lisa Marie with Kate, and Tommy should have known better that Kate is going to run her mouth. Like Kate cannot help. His mother can't hold water. She's going to run her mouth. She basically gives up everything as far as Lisa Marie connects the dots that Ghost is that James St. Patrick is Ghost, and that Ghost is Tyreke, and that Tyreke, and she connects all those dots when she meets up when Tommy leaves her alone, with Kate. So Tommy comes back. Of course, Tommy is all pissed off because he hears them talking. He knows his mom has a big mouth, but at that point, he had basically no other options. He needed to buy some time until he can get this recording. So Paz comes by, and that's why when we saw it from Paz's perspective, that's why Tommy really kept Paz from coming all the way into the place. He tells Lisa Marie and also his mom to hide in the back, and then Paz and Tommy go back and forth. Of course, Paz is asking Tommy to kill Ghost, and that's when Lisa Marie hears that, makes the Ghost and Jamie connection. So Tommy kicks Paz out. And of course, we already saw that scene in Paz's perspective. She doesn't take the money. He kicks her out. So now you have Tommy and Lisa Marie in the car ride. Of course, now Tommy gets a call from Two Bit telling him that Dre, who dined him out. He also gets the information that BG is dead. Earlier in the episode, Tommy thought that BG probably snitched him out, and he called BG, basically saying that he was going to kill him if he ever saw him on the street. So Tommy now is in a mad rush to keep Ghost, to keep Dre from killing Ghost. He figures that Dre is, before Dre gets out of town, that Dre is going to try to kill Ghost, because he's aware that Ghost. He tells them that he connects the dots that Ghost set up Dre, and he figures that Dre is going after Ghost. So he now, instead of whatever his original plan was with Lisa Marie, he has basically scrapped that. During the car ride, he and Lisa Marie basically go back and forth in terms of the conversation of, she's basically wanted to know where he was going to take her, and she tries to ask him, did he kill her father? And he basically say, hey, your father wasn't a good guy. Your father would, do you know what your father did, and what have you? So Tommy drops Lisa Marie off. Tommy drops Lisa Marie off back at the house. He doesn't, in his main words, he doesn't tell her that he killed Joe Proctor, but he doesn't deny it either. So he drops her off. He drops her off, and then of course he has a hit on his head. Vincent has pressure from the Cyril family to find Tommy and find Lisa Marie, because they believe, and rightfully so, that bringing Tommy into his family, and along with Tony Teresi, is the cause of all of this. Benny dying, Proctor dying, Lisa Marie getting kidnapped. So then we get to the second meeting with Tommy and Tyreke. Now during this meeting, Tommy basically says, "Listen, we could be a family again. All this stuff about your dad, diming me out, killing Lakeisha is basically a bunch of BS." Tyreke gets upset because Tyreke basically now says, "Hey, you reneged on your promise to kill Ghost." And Tommy explains to him, like, the truth is a little bit more complicated than I thought it was, and I know your father did some foul shit, but he did not do everything. He did not do everything that I thought he did, and I need your help. I need your help to come up with a plan to not set up, but come up a trap to help save your father, and to help set up a trap to get Dre. Of course, Tariq completely is thrown off by this. He disagrees with it. He wants no part of this. He doesn't care. Uh, he does not care if Dre kills his father. Tariq is past that point. Tommy is hoping that they can become a family again. So Tommy has completely basically forgiven Ghost and wants them to be a family again. Now, what I take from this scene, and again, to me, the writers have not, the writers are not hiding the fact that it was Tasha and Tyreke that killed Ghost. I don't think in every episode, I don't think that they are hiding that fact at all, to me. So Tyreke basically says, I don't want any part of this. Tommy leaves to try to save Ghost, and Tommy gets ambushed by Vincent's men. As we all would find out, it was Tyreke who dropped a dime on Tommy and told Vincent where Tommy was going to be at. Tommy, of course, is a one-man Terminator. He takes out Vincent and his whole crew. Vincent had a chance to kill Tommy, but Tommy pointed the gun to his head. We saw that in the trailer. We saw that in the opening, the trailer for season 6, that little tease trailer where Tommy had a gun to his head. A lot of people thought that Tommy was going to die that Tommy was going to die in this particular episode. I thought Tommy was going to die in this particular episode. I'm glad I was wrong. So he knocks the gun out of Vincent's hand. He beats Vincent to death, and he basically drives to save Ghost at Truth. Now we see as Tommy's heading to Truth, he sees Dre in the car. Dre's already in the car. Now we are. I'm assuming that this. I'm assuming this is past the point where Dre has heard the shot, knocked out Blanca, and now is in the car and is driving off to his demise, which would be the gas station. So that wasn't. We thought in 611, was Dre seeing things. That actually was Tommy. So Tommy got there after Dre. Tommy got the truth after Dre. Tommy goes in the truth, and we now, all you conspiracy theorists out there can now just shut the hell up about whether Ghost or not is dead. Ghost is dead. We see Ghost shot, laying on the floor, blood coming out of his mouth, basically, or blood on his lips, and basically taking his last breaths. And during that exchange with Tommy and Ghost, Tommy, of course, looks up and points the gun, basically says, "What the?" And Ghost tells him twice, "Let it go, let it go." Now, when I first saw the episode, I thought, as many of you may have thought, he said, "Let her go." But when you put on the subtitles, he indeed said, "Let it go." And Tommy, again, points the gun. He takes heed to Ghost's advice, grabs Ghost's hand. They have an emotional scene where Ghost, basically taking his last breaths, and he watched Ghost die, and he leaves Truth, and next thing you know, you have Tommy back at his mother's place, back at his mother's house. The next morning, of course, his mother has already been to gotten her money from Ghost. We saw that scene back in the last episode, the Posh perspective, where she got the money from Ghost. She thinks that Tommy. She believes that Tommy killed Ghost. So they have a big falling out. Tommy, of course, denies it. And basically, Kate says what I think that she thought has been thinking all along throughout the course of this series, that Jamie Ghost was her real son, and she basically told him, "Hey, basically, I loved Ghost. I love Ghost more than I loved you." This drives Tommy, and getting, of course, and she hands him an envelope that Ghost sent him, that Ghost left for him. She refuses to allow him to open that envelope in front of her. Basically tells him to get out of her sight. We see Tommy driving. We see Tommy driving. We see Tommy, and of course the envelope is the location on a Mustang a Mustang that Ghost got him, the blue Mustang. Of course, that Ghost shot up back in episode 1, the first episode of the season. Before Ghost leave, before Tommy leave, Two Bit tells him that it was Spanky that dined him out. He's cool now. He's cool with Two Bit. He ended up killing Spanky. Why Spanky was not in Witsack, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know why Spanky was walking on the street as if everything was everything. I completely don't understand that. We also see Tommy go by Elisa Marie's. Now, why Elisa Marie is still in that location at Benny's after she's been kidnapped once by him is it just makes zero sense to me. I don't understand. It was a bad episode for the Italians. It's a bad episode. Vincent got his whole crew taken out. The fact that Lisa Marie was in Benny's house at all, especially after getting kidnapped. So it's just a bad episode for the Italians. Elisa Marie gives Tommy the recordings. He destroys them, of course, and he goes about his business. Basically, tells her, "Look, if you need to come see me for what I did, I understand it." He understands that she's probably gonna be mob connected. She's gonna grow up in that life. She's probably gonna be, she's probably gonna be involved in the mafia in some form or fashion in the future. So Tommy is off to California. And then of course we get a preview of the next episode where they mention Governor Tate, They mention Governor Tape on the radio. Tommy immediately turns it off. And of course, the next episode will be about Rashad Tate's perspective. Now, I thought this was a minus episode. I thought it was a legit top 10 episode, power episode of all time. I thought Joseph Sikora was tremendous in this episode. I thought that the dialogue between him and the little girl was great. I thought the scenes between Tommy and his mother were great, were well acted. I thought that, I thought that I forgot the name of the actress who plays his mom. I thought she was tremendous. She was tremendous in her role. The Tasha Tommy scene was even though we didn't believe, I didn't believe, at least I didn't believe. You can tell me what you thought, what you think. I didn't believe that he was ever going to shoot Tasha. I thought Tori Naughton was great in that scene, convinced how the fear factor and basically believing that she was going to die. Again, they are not hiding the fact that it's clearly Tasha and Tyreke in some whether, and again, I believe it was Tasha that set this whole thing up. I believe Tasha has been playing to kill Ghost basically the entire season. Okay, and if you really go back and watch season 6, and I'm guarantee you they'll show some sprinklings, some little clues, mini clues, some small clues that you may overlook. That Tasha was engineering this whole thing. There's some people out there that believe. Now, I believe Tyreke pulled the trigger. I believe Tasha is the one that pulled the trigger. I also believe Tasha is going to take the fall for all of this and allow Tyreke to go free. Someone has to take the fall. I mean, you're basically killing a political figure. We see how protected Ghost was by the Democratic National Party in the last episode when they had Warner fired from his position. So we understand that Ghost was in a position of power as the up and coming lieutenant governor. So it'll be very interesting to see. Now, there again, I'm going to completely ignore the leaks. I'm not the leak they had, and again, the leak that came out last episode showed Tommy by Ghost's body and said Ghost was still alive. I'm completely stay away from the leaks. There's some more leaks that have come out today. They said on Instagram, I'm completely where they apparently the killer is going to be revealed in the next episode. To me, it wouldn't make sense. I don't think it would make much sense for the killer to be revealed in this episode when we still haven't you still haven't heard from Tasha or haven't seen Tasha or Tyreke's perspective. Of course, that will be the last episode, 6:15, Tasha and Tyreke's perspective. So Tommy, again, I'm glad that they didn't kill Tommy. There's still some story to tell about Tommy's character. What does Tommy do in a world without ghosts? He's going to California. Of course, we know he has to connect in California. Adolfo, or whatever, the guy that he met earlier in the season that Jason message introduced him to. So he has that. So he's going to probably going to hook up with him. Remember, Tommy's on good terms with the Serbs, and there will be a life after Ghost. The question will be, what will Tommy's life look like after Ghost? I definitely think Tommy will be in Power Book 2 Ghost without question. If everything we hear is true, that it's taking place 72 hours after the finale, after the season after episode 15, which will be the season finale, season 6 finale. So what are your thoughts on this episode? I thought it was an A minus episode. I thought it was the second best episode of the season. I still think 610 was the best episode of the season, and 610 is aging well in regards to Ghost's perspective, and again is a reason why they keep showing that episode before they show a new episode on Stars on Sunday. So I think 610 is still the best episode of the season, but I think this is the second best. That's going to do it for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast as we look back at Power episode 13. It's all your fault. I will see you next time. I'm out.